Sometimes the most confusing relationship situations are not the ones where a man pulls away or distances himself. They are the ones where he stays. He keeps texting. He still responds. He still checks in. From the outside, it looks like nothing is wrong. From the inside, something feels quietly unsettled. This is the kind of experience that is hard to explain, even to yourself. There is no obvious moment where things changed, no argument you can point to, no clear reason you can name. And yet, the connection does not feel the way it used to, or maybe it never fully settled in the first place. What makes this especially confusing is that most people equate communication with security. If he is still talking to you, still present in your life, then everything should feel stable. So when it does not, you are left holding an experience that feels real but unsupported by logic. That is often when self-questioning begins. You start wondering if you are imagining things, if you are being overly sensitive, if you are expecting too much. Because there is no visible problem, the mind turns inward looking for an explanation. But here is the unresolved question this situation opens. Why can something feel off even when the basic signs look fine? Why does presence sometimes fail to create safety? And why does this particular kind of uncertainty linger instead of resolving itself? Those questions do not have obvious answers, but the fact that they arise at all is meaningful. This is not random confusion. It follows a pattern, one that most people never learn how to recognize. When something feels off, but nothing looks wrong, the nervous system does not know how to relax. There is no clear signal that says danger, but there is also no signal that says everything is secure. So you remain in a state of quiet alertness. This does not usually feel like panic. It feels more like waiting. Waiting for clarity. Waiting for something to settle. Waiting for a sign that confirms what you are sensing one way or the other. In this space, many women become hyper-aware. They notice small changes in tone. They pay attention to timing. They replay conversations in their mind, not because they want to overanalyze, but because their system is trying to orient itself. What often gets missed is that this response is not a flaw. It is a natural reaction to ambiguity. Human beings are wired to look for stability in emotional bonds. When stability is unclear, attention increases. The problem is that most advice does not address this type of uncertainty. It treats confusion as a personal issue rather than a relational dynamic. So instead of understanding what is happening, you are encouraged to dismiss what you feel. That dismissal creates a second loop of confusion. Not only does the relationship feel uncertain, but your own perception starts to feel unreliable. You are now questioning both the connection and yourself. And that leads to a deeper, unanswered question. If this feeling is not just insecurity, what exactly is it responding to? What has shifted beneath the surface that has not yet shown itself clearly? Most people are taught to evaluate relationships based on behavior. How often he texts, how quickly he replies, whether he initiates. These things are easy to observe and easy to compare. But behavior only tells part of the story. It shows activity, not emotional orientation. It tells you that interaction is happening, not how it is held internally. A man can text consistently out of habit, comfort, or momentum. None of those necessarily indicate emotional anchoring. They simply indicate continuity. This is where confusion often deepens, because continuity is mistaken for depth. When communication continues, it is assumed that emotional investment is growing. And when that growth is not felt, the disconnect becomes unsettling. You may notice that conversations feel lighter than before, or that vulnerability appears briefly and then disappears, or that forward movement feels stalled even though nothing has stopped outright. These are not dramatic changes. They are subtle shifts in emotional texture. And because they are subtle, they are easy to rationalize away, easy to ignore. easy to explain as timing or stress or circumstance. But the body often notices what the mind tries to explain. And when the body registers a lack of grounding, it responds with unease. This opens another loop. If behavior is present but stability is missing, then something else must be involved, something that cannot be measured by frequency or consistency alone. There is an important distinction that rarely gets named but is deeply felt: the difference between presence and emotional investment. Presence means he is there, he responds, he engages. Investment means he is internally leaning toward the connection, not just maintaining it. A man can be present without being invested, and when that happens, the relationship can feel suspended. Like it exists, but without weight, without gravity. This is often why reassurance does not land. You can be told that everything is fine and still feel unsettled. Because reassurance speaks to words, not to emotional orientation. When investment is present, even uncertainty feels contained. There is a sense of direction. When it is missing, time passes, but nothing deepens. Conversations happen, but nothing accumulates. Many women interpret this as personal failure. They assume they are not doing enough or doing something wrong. But often, they are responding accurately to a mismatch between presence and investment. This mismatch does not mean the relationship is doomed, but it does mean that something foundational has not yet formed. And until it does, the nervous system remains alert. Here is the unresolved question this opens. What causes a man to remain present but not fully invest? And why does this state feel so destabilizing even when nothing overtly negative is happening? When uncertainty persists, the instinct is often to stabilize the connection, to smooth things over, to communicate more clearly, to be more understanding or flexible. This response comes from care, not desperation. It is a natural attempt to restore balance. But in this particular dynamic, effort often does not bring relief. It can even increase the sense of imbalance. That is because the issue is not a lack of communication or kindness. It is not something that can be fixed through explanation or reassurance. It exists at a deeper level. Trying harder can unintentionally create pressure. Not obvious pressure, but emotional weight. A sense that something needs to be managed rather than allowed to form. This is often where exhaustion begins. You feel like you are carrying the connection forward without feeling it move toward you. Like you are maintaining something that has not fully taken root. Many women mistake this exhaustion for neediness, but often it is the result of responding to an unstable foundation. Effort cannot substitute for emotional anchoring, and no amount of adjustment can create something that has not yet aligned internally. This begs the question: if effort cannot fix it, and presence alone is not enough, then what exactly determines whether a connection settles or remains provisional? Most people assume that attraction and compatibility naturally lead to commitment. That if there is chemistry, enjoyment, and connection, things should deepen with time. But there is a quieter ingredient that determines whether a man emotionally settles into a relationship or remains partially disengaged while staying in contact. This ingredient rarely announces itself. Its absence does not cause conflict. It causes drift, and drift is easy to misinterpret as temporary or situational. When this ingredient is present, the connection feels grounded even during uncertainty. When it is missing, everything feels tentative, like it could shift at any moment. Because there is no clear problem, people often wait. They tell themselves clarity will come later. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does not. And the waiting itself becomes distressing. Most women are never taught to recognize this dynamic. They are taught to assess interest based on attention, not orientation. So when attention remains but stability does not, They feel lost. This is not a failure of intuition. It is a gap in understanding, one that leaves people questioning themselves instead of recognizing a structural pattern. That leads to a deeper, unresolved question. What is this missing ingredient? And why does its absence create such persistent uncertainty, even in the presence of connection? Many women were taught that love is built through consistency, communication, and care. And while those things matter, they are not the entire picture. There is also the question of how a man experiences himself within the relationship. Not just how he feels about you, but how he feels inside the relational space. This internal experience is rarely discussed, yet deeply influential. A man may enjoy a woman and still feel unrooted. He may like the connection and still not feel internally oriented toward it. This does not mean he is dishonest or incapable of commitment. It means something essential has not yet aligned, and alignment cannot be negotiated into existence. Because this process is subtle, it often goes unnamed. Without language for it, women fill in the gap with self-blame. They assume they are not enough, too much, or misaligned. But often, what is missing has nothing to do with worth or effort. It has to do with an internal mechanism that either engages or does not. Understanding that such a mechanism exists changes how you experience uncertainty. Instead of personalizing it, you begin to observe it. This would lead us to believe that if this internal alignment is real and influential, then understanding it would explain a great deal about why some connections deepen while others stall. If you are in a situation where he is still texting, still present, and still engaging, but something feels unsettled, it does not mean you are imagining things. It also does not mean the connection is hopeless. It means that something important has not yet taken shape, and unnamed experiences tend to create the most confusion. You are not broken for feeling this way. You are responding to a lack of emotional grounding that behavior alone cannot provide. Clarity does not always come from answers. Sometimes it comes from naming the right question, from understanding what kind of stability you are actually seeking. There is a reason this dynamic feels so disorienting, a reason it follows a recognizable progression, and a reason it cannot be solved through effort alone. I examine this missing piece more closely in another video linked in the description. You can watch it at your leisure. For now, it is enough to know that your experience makes sense. Your confusion does not mean failure, and that feeling of something is off is information, not weakness. The most important question remains unanswered. There is something deeper at work here. Something internal, something that, once seen, makes everything else about your relationship with him click into place.